Recently, a huge study came out. 27.8 million people. And what it confirmed is that there's a direct link between air pollution and Alzheimer's disease. And no, maybe not a theory, a direct link. And we need to stop treating this like it's someone else's problem because let me tell you, the air we breathe is affecting, is damaging our brains, not just our lungs, our brains. And if you think Alzheimer's is something you're going to worry about when you're 60, or your air quality is only a problem for people who live next to, I don't know, like some smokestacks or something, please put down your plastic water bottle, put down your coffee. I got to stop you right there, okay? Because this is your issue too. Right now, whether you're 35, you're 65, if you have kids or aging parents, no matter where you're living, okay, is all our problem. Today we are going to talk about air quality as a brain health issue and why waiting until it show up at your front door, that's too late. It's just too late, okay? Hey, beautiful people, welcome or welcome back to Well with Mika, where we talk real wellness for your real life. I'm Mika, your cultural wellness ally, and today we are kicking off this whole conversation about pollution because we left off talking about it in a previous episode, right? When we talked about your zip code and how it shapes your health, how pollution exposure is not equal, and how it shows up in our bodies, whether we see it or not. But today we got to go a little bit deeper because this new research right here, it confirmed that the air that we breathe, it does not just affect our lungs or our kids' asthma. It is really damaging to our brains and our parents' brains and our future, right? Sometimes we think of it as, off in the distance, but it's right here in your face. So, what did the study find? It found that following about 27.8 million Medicare recipients, that means people over 65, right? Over nearly 20 years. And what they looked at is air pollution exposure, specifically that fine particulate matter that we talked about called PM 2.5, and whether people developed Alzheimer's. And apparently, the results were clear. Long term exposure to air pollution directly increases Alzheimer's risk. Now, I need you to sit down and really take that in, okay? Because it's important. They found that pollution, it doesn't just cause heart disease or stroke, which can then lead to dementia. That happens too, but over 95% of the effect was direct, meaning the pollution is getting into your brain and is doing the damage there. So I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. The air you breathe is affecting your brain directly. And here's the part, right, that should really just really hit you hard. Is that it's not just people who live next to these, like factories or, refineries. This is regular air, the kind you're breathing right now, the kind you thought was fine because you can't see it. But turns out fresh air is is doing the heavy lifting because the air, it ain't that fresh, right? The study was published not too long ago, and it's one of the largest studies ever done on this connection. And apparently, the findings are definitive. The air quality is a brain health issue, not just a lung issue. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, look, I ain't over 65. I'm in my 40s. Alzheimer's is decades away. This don't apply to me. Or my parents don't live near that stuff, right? They're okay. And look, I get it. We're all walking around with a mental list of things that we're supposed to worry about. And that list is already too long. I get that. But the thing is, worry without action is just anxiety, and that's probably what you would feel if you just said, all right, I got all another thing to add to this list. Information without action, that's a problem. But information with action, now that's power. So let me be clear. If you have parents, grandparents, your auntie, your uncle, your elders you care about, this is already your issue. And right now, millions of older adults are living in areas with poor air quality, and every day they breathe that air. and their Alzheimer's risk is climbing. Now, the study showed that people who had strokes were even more vulnerable. So, if you have an elder or anyone in your life who's had a stroke and lives in areas with poor air quality, this matters even more for you and for them. And if you're breathing polluted air today in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you are truly setting the stage for your brain health 20, 30 years from now. Because Alzheimer's, it doesn't develop overnight, it develops over decades of exposure. So this is not about a someday, this is truly about a right now. And the other thing we need to talk about is air pollution. Air pollution, it don't have like a boundary. It's not staying in one neighborhood. By the time it reach your door, it's been at someone else's nearby for years. And if you wait until it affects you personally to get to care, you are really guaranteeing it will just continue to spread. Pollution, it don't respect no property lines. You think that pollution is looking like, hey, that line's stopping right there. Let me just hold up. No, it doesn't stop at zip code borders. It's not doing that. This is a true collective issue, and it requires collective action. And just to reintroduce a topic we covered before called weathering. Now, Dr. Arlene Geronimus, she's a public health researcher. She uses this term to describe how chronic exposure to stress and environmental harm literally wears down your body over time. And her research focuses particularly on Black Americans, right? Now, air pollution is part of that weathering. If you've been breathing polluted air for decades in a neighborhood that was redlined near highways that were deliberately routed through Black communities and zip codes where factories and industrial sites were placed because policymakers, decision makers considered those communities were disposable, guess what? Your body has been weathering longer and harder than someone in a zip code with cleaner air, quote unquote, with tree lined streets and green space. So, this is not about personal lifestyle choices. I need to make that clear. This is about exposure. It's not about what you ate or whether you exercised enough. It is about what you've been forced to breathe. And what that means is when we see higher rates of Alzheimer's in Black communities, in low income communities, in communities near highways and factories, that is not genetics, boo. That is geography. That's policy. That is injustice. And it's time that we really start to name it as such. Because when health problems are framed as solely personal failures, oh, they didn't take care of themselves, they were ignorant, they didn't do it, we ignore the fact that some people have been breathing poison for decades while others haven't. That's not a lifestyle difference, that is a systemic difference. And, the other thing that most people don't realize is that this is not just about pollution happening in our neighborhoods. It's also about what we consume and where the waste that we use ends up. A lot of the waste that we generate in wealthy countries in the West, the packaging, the electronics, the plastics, that gets shipped to other countries. I'm sure you've seen a documentary or two where they show you it getting shipped to other countries, poorer countries, where it's often burned. And that burning creates pollution, which then, guess what that does? It circulates globally. It is air, people. So the air quality crisis is not just local, it's tied to consumption patterns, to waste systems, to who profits from overconsumption and who pays the price, literally in their lungs and their brains. And I'm not saying you need to stop buying everything tomorrow. No, but I am saying choices ripple. They matter. They have an impact. And the people breathing the pollution from our waste, they didn't choose that. And that's part of why this is, also a political issue. I know it's a lot. So what do we do? Yes, you can buy air purifiers, and you should. Your HEPA filters, they're going to help your indoor air quality. You can check the air quality index and keep your windows closed on bad days. Do that too. If you have aging parents or grandparents, especially those who've had strokes, indoor air quality definitely becomes even more important. But we got to be honest. Your air filter is not going to solve a policy problem. If your city is still allowing trucks to just sit down idle outside of, let's say, schools, if your state is just rolling back clean air standards left and right, if your reps don't think environmental justice is a priority, your HEPA filter ain't really doing much. It's not doing enough. So this is a political issue, and politics, it happens at the ballot box. Look, I would never tell you who to vote for. That is your business, okay? That ain't between me and you. That is you. But I am going to tell you what you should vote for, though, because I care about your health. You should be voting for clean air policy, environmental justice, green infrastructure, public transportation, stricter emission standards, protections for communities near highways and industrial sites, because these aren't just like abstract policy issues. They shouldn't even be partisan issues. These are brain health issues, heart health issues, lung health issues, life expectancy and quality issues. Look, it doesn't matter where you land. You human, it's your issue, okay? How you vote, it affects your brain, your parents' brain, your neighbor's brain. I'm not speaking in hyperbole here. That's what the research is confirming. And I'm telling you, don't wait until you can taste the air to start caring about it, because by then it's too late, people. It's too late, all right? So this episode, it's not really about living in fear. It's not. We've got enough of that going on already. This is about living with the information and using it. The air we breathe, it matters, okay? It matters for all of our brains, for your parents, for future generations. And whether that's in your home, your neighborhood, your city, it it deserves attention. Not panic, but definitely attention and action, okay? Because clean air, that should not be a luxury. It is a right. And when we treat it like it's someone else's problem, that's where we're going to guarantee, it becomes everyone's problem. And we don't want that. If this, I really want this to really sit with you, because it is truly an everyone issue. So I hope that this resonated. If it did, please share it, all right? Talk about it with your family, talk about it in your community. Remember, the air we're breathing today, it's shaping the brains we'll have tomorrow, and the brains our kids will have, and the elders we're caring for right now. So when you get the chance to act, whether that's at the ballot box, at a city council meeting, or just in conversation with someone who might not know, please don't let that opportunity pass, because every person for themselves, that don't work when it comes to air, all right? We all breathe in the same air. Clean air, it ain't optional. It's survival. I know this topic is heavy. I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that. It is what it is, right? But information is the first step. Action is the next step. So please take what you need from this and do what you can with this. We got this, okay? As always, sorry I'm really passionate about this, but this is something that's so important for all of us, okay? So I just hope that, you really do take action in whatever ways you can. As always, happy health and peace.